The sun hadn't yet broken over the horizon when Detective Sarah Reeves pulled into the parking lot of Oakwood Country Club. The air was crisp, carrying the promise of a beautiful day, but Sarah knew better. Beauty could be deceiving, especially in places like this. As she stepped out of her car, the crunch of gravel under her feet seemed unnaturally loud in the pre-dawn quiet. She took a deep breath, steeling herself for what lay ahead. This wasn't her first murder scene, but something about this one felt different. Maybe it was the setting, the manicured perfection of the golf course seemed an unlikely backdrop for violence. Sarah made her way towards the small crowd gathered near the third hole. The flashing lights of police cars cast an eerie glow over the scene, turning the perfectly trimmed grass into a surreal landscape of shadows and harsh illumination. "What have we got?" she asked, addressing no one in particular as she ducked under the yellow crime scene tape. Officer Johnson, a veteran of the force, stepped forward. Female victim, mid-50s. Groundskeeper found her when he came to mow the green. He paused, his face grim. "It's Patricia Holloway, detective. She's on the club's board of directors." Sarah's eyebrows shot up. Patricia Holloway was a name everyone in town knew. Old money, old power. This wasn't going to be a simple case. As she approached the body, Sarah's trained eye took in every detail. Patricia lay sprawled on her back, arms outstretched, as if frozen mid-swing. Her crisp white golf outfit was now stained a deep crimson, the bright color jarring against the meticulously maintained green of the course. Something nagged at the back of Sarah's mind. There was something familiar about this scene, but she couldn't quite place it. She knelt down, careful not to disturb any potential evidence, and leaned in for a closer look. That's when she saw a small, white object protruding from Patricia's mouth. With gloved hands, she carefully extracted it. A golf tee, but not just any golf tee. This one was custom-made, bearing the logo of a company Sarah hadn't seen in years. As she stood up, a movement caught her eye. A young man was jogging towards her, his badge glinting in the early morning light. Mike Chen, her new partner. At 28, he was the youngest detective on the force, full of enthusiasm and eager to prove himself. "Boss," he called out, slightly out of breath. "You're not going to believe this. We just got a call from the station. There's been another body found." Sarah felt her stomach drop. "Where?" she asked, already dreading the answer. "The 7th hole," Mike replied, confirming her fears. "It's another board member." As they made their way to the second crime scene, Sarah's mind was racing. 2 murders, both board members, both on the golf course. This wasn't random. This was planned, methodical. The second victim, James Foster, was positioned differently from Patricia. He was face down, arms stretched out in front of him as if he'd just completed a putt. And there, just visible between his lips, was another custom golf tee. Sarah turned to Mike. "I need you to run background checks on all the board members, current and past. Look for any connections, any conflicts, and find out everything you can about these golf tees. There are only physical evidence so far." As Mike hurried off to start his research, Sarah took a moment to survey the scene. The sun was now up, casting a golden glow over the golf course. It looked peaceful, serene even, but Sarah knew that appearances could be deceiving. Underneath this veneer of perfection, something dark was lurking. Over the next few days, Sarah and Mike worked tirelessly, following leads and interviewing witnesses. They discovered that both Patricia and James had been at the club late the night before their bodies were found, attending a board meeting. The other board members confirmed this, but claimed the meeting had been routine, with no unusual conflicts or disagreements. But as they dug deeper, cracks began to appear in the polished facade of Oakwood Country Club. Rumors of financial improprieties, whispered accusations of favoritism in membership applications, hints of illicit affairs. The place was a hotbed of secrets and lies. A breakthrough came when they interviewed Maggie, the elderly woman who ran the club's pro shop. She recognized the logo on the golf tees. "Oh, those are from Golf Tech," she said, her eyes lighting up with recognition. "They went out of business years ago. Shame, really. They made good products." When Sarah pressed her for more information, Maggie's face clouded over. "There was a scandal, about 20 years ago. A young golfer died on the course. Golf Tech was his sponsor. The whole thing was hushed up, but the company never recovered." This new information sent Sarah and Mike back to the archives, digging through old case files. They found the case Maggie had mentioned, a promising young golfer named Tommy Sullivan, found dead on the 18th hole. The death had been ruled an accident, But the more Sarah read, the more suspicious it seemed. As they continued their investigation, pressure mounted. The media had gotten wind of the murders, and the community was in a panic. The remaining board members were clamoring for protection, each convinced they would be the next target. Sarah knew they were missing something crucial. She spent hours poring over the files, looking for connections between Tommy Sullivan's death and the current board members. It was during one of these late-night sessions that Mike burst into her office, his face flushed with excitement. "I found something," he said, dropping a stack of papers on her desk. "I've been going through old employee records. There's a name that keeps popping up: Tom Hargrove. He was a junior groundskeeper when Tommy died. Now he's on the board." Sarah felt a chill run down her spine. How had they missed this? She quickly scanned the documents Mike had brought. Tom Hargrove had indeed worked his way up from groundskeeper to board member over the past 20 years, and he had been present for both Tommy's death and the recent murders. They raced to Hargrove's house, but they were too late. The place was empty, save for a chilling message scrawled on the wall: "The final hole awaits." Realizing the killer's end game, they sped back to the golf course. The remaining board members had been lured there under the guise of an emergency meeting. As Sarah and Mike arrived, they heard screams coming from the clubhouse. Inside, they found Hargrove holding the last two board members at gunpoint. The room was rigged with explosives, set to destroy all evidence of past and present crimes. "They killed him," Hargrove was shouting, his face contorted with rage and grief. "Tommy was my friend. We grew up together, and they killed him because he was going to expose their corruption." Sarah stepped forward, her hands raised in a placating gesture. "Tom," she said softly, "I know you're hurting. I know you want justice for Tommy, but this isn't the way." For a moment, Hargrove's resolve seemed to waver. "They covered it up," he said, his voice breaking. "All these years, they've been living their lives, playing their golf, like nothing ever happened. And they'll face justice for that," Sarah assured him. "But if you do this, you're no better than they are. Tommy wouldn't have wanted this." As Hargrove hesitated, Mike managed to disarm the explosives. In the end, Hargrove surrendered, broken and defeated. The aftermath of the case sent shockwaves through the community. The truth about Tommy Sullivan's death finally came to light, bringing closure to his family. The surviving board members faced justice for their past and present crimes. For Sarah, the case was a stark reminder that even in the most unlikely places, darkness could take root and fester. As she watched the sun set over the now quiet golf course, she couldn't help but wonder how many other secrets lay buried beneath perfectly manicured fairways across the country. The Oakwood Killer, as the press dubbed Hargrove, became a cautionary tale about the dangers of unchecked power and the corrosive effects of long-buried guilt. But for Sarah, it was a personal turning point. The case had rekindled her passion for justice and reminded her why she became a detective in the first place. In the weeks that followed, Sarah found herself mentoring Mike with renewed energy, sharing the hard-earned wisdom from her years on the force. Together, they tackled new cases, always mindful of the lessons learned at Oakwood Country Club. The golf course itself underwent a transformation. New ownership turned it into a public park, open to all. The 18th hole, where Tommy had died, was turned into a memorial garden, a quiet place of reflection amidst the rolling greens. Sarah often visited the garden, finding a strange peace in the place where so much tragedy had unfolded. It served as a reminder that justice, like a well-played golf game, required patience, precision, and the ability to see the bigger picture. As life in the community slowly returned to normal, Sarah knew that the Oakwood case would stay with her forever. It had changed her, making her more determined than ever to uncover the truth, no matter where it might be hidden. The last time Sarah visited the memorial garden, she noticed a single golf tee placed at the base of the plaque honoring Tommy. For a moment, her heart raced, old instincts kicking in. But as she bent to examine it, she saw that it was just an ordinary tee, left behind by a forgetful player. Smiling to herself, Sarah straightened up and walked back to her car. There would always be new mysteries to solve, new wrongs to right, and she would be ready for them, armed with the knowledge that even the most perfectly maintained facades could hide the darkest secrets. As she drove away from Oakwood for the last time, Sarah felt a sense of closure. The case had been solved, justice had been served, and a community had been forced to confront its past. But she knew that somewhere out there, another crime was waiting to be uncovered, another story waiting to be told. And Detective Sarah Reeves would be ready, golf tee in hand, to tee off on her next investigation.